Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's video, we are going to be talking all about the symbol of Scorpio. What does it really mean? Stay tuned and find out. But before we do dive into today's video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and click the bell. And if you are interested in booking a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology ebooks, guide, merch, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. All the links to these products will be in the description box down below, as well as the 2024 calendar. And I also want to mention here that if you are interested in gaining access to extra astrology content early, as well as PDF guides and astrology forecasts, then head on over to my Patreon. Thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. As always, I hope you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. Okay, so as most of you most likely know, the symbol of Scorpio is the scorpion. So as you can see from this glyph, it shows what looks like a scorpion's stinging tail. And what this digger-like image can represent is the passionate desire to get to the heart of any situation or experience. It can also be suggested that it signifies Scorpio's high primal asexual nature. There is also something penetrating about this glyph, thinking about how we can dig deep into our psyche, how we can transform. We can explore hidden truths and unconscious drives and motivations, for example. And by doing so, we change, we evolve, we become a newer version of ourselves. What's further interesting about the sign of Scorpio is it often is associated with 6 or 7 other symbols, such as the spider, the snake, the wolf, the monkey, the eagle, and of course, the mighty phoenix. The highest octave symbol of Scorpio being the phoenix, which symbolizes transformation, truth, death, and rebirth. The phoenix is said to obtain new life by rising from the ashes of its predecessor. Some say the phoenix dies in a show of flames and combustion, whilst other sources claim that the bird dies and decomposes before being born again. But whichever way, this is a symbol of strength. The strength and power and will it must take to rise from the ashes after something destructive or turbulent. The scorpion symbol can be seen as the less evolved version, or the lower octave, as the lower octave of Scorpio. However, this does not mean that this symbol holds less importance than the other symbols. After all, scorpions are very hardy animals. They are resistant to hunger and thirst, suggesting the sheer resilience and strength and power associated with the archetype of Scorpio. This sign knows much about survival, vending for oneself, rising after dark times, overcoming difficulties. This is interesting to me personally because I have Moon in the 8th house, which is traditionally ruled by Scorpio, and I have a tattoo, and on my tattoo it reads, "I can fend for myself." And as previously mentioned in the Scorpio mythology video, the scales of Libra were once known as the claws of Scorpius. And come to think about it, seeing as the claws became the scales of Libra, there is something rather symbolic about the duality, okay? The polarity of Libra. Libra is the sign that harmonizes the light and dark, yin, yang, as within, so without. And it's Scorpio who is the ruler of the underworld, the guardian of the underworld. Scorpio is the entryway to our descent into darkness. But we also rise. We come out again, renewed, revived, and more powerful. Scorpio is a sign of empowerment. Interesting, because Scorpio and Taurus are yin energy. They are opposite one another in the zodiac. Taurus points towards calm, stability, reliability, security. In the Taurus mythology video, we explored how long ago Taurus, the bull, marked the vernal equinox, the spring equinox. This was before Aries. And the bull was the symbol of fertility, procreation, sensuality, and love. So, if Taurus was the beginning of it all long ago, well, this also means that Scorpio would have been opposite the beginning, showing up as this underworld imagery. Cows and bulls are creatures of maintaining structure and balance. They are vital for the ecosystem. But Scorpions live mostly in dry lands, especially deserts. They hide under logs, boards, clutter, rocks. They are mostly nocturnal creatures as well. And when looking at the sign of Scorpio in the zodiac, well, Scorpio is the sign of destruction and mystery. Scorpio is a very private energy and does not trust easily. Scorpio is much more turbulent than Taurus, but remember, both are a part of each other. Taurus can also experience its own upheavals in life. In fact, when it comes to Scorpio, Pluto energy, we have very little say in the matter. Whether we are prepared for it or not, we can experience intense changes and huge shifts. But here's the thing. Scorpio is so much about the death of the personality. Duncan Trussell said, "Heartbreak is the ego cracking. And the moment it cracks, you're in the experience of truth. And when you're in the experience of truth, that's when you can become who you are. But to get to who you are, your personality needs to be cracked. And it hurts. But we're pain avoiding creatures, so we're always running away from this pain. But the problem is that as we're running away from this pain, we're still exactly in pain." Quite profound to think about all of this, but this is Scorpio. Here's another thing. What also comes from such death and rebirths is compassion, love, acceptance, greater depth, greater insight, wisdom. Loss and heartbreak fundamentally change us from within. And there's no turning back. There's no fixing things. As Megan Devine said, some things cannot be fixed, they can only be carried. We carry our pain, our wounds, our hurt, our betrayals, our losses, our grief, but we also must feel. So we discover more about this through the sign of Pisces. So we go beyond our personality, and beyond our personality, there is so much feeling, so much healing. But the thing is that we often try to avoid anything uncomfortable. But the sign of Scorpio says, face yourself. Face your inner demons. So on that note, let's turn our attention to scorpions for a moment. So scorpions quickly grab their prey with their pinchers, and then they have their stinger. So the tip of their tail is poisonous, and so they poison and they kill their victims with their stinger. This, I feel, is symbolic of how to the point Scorpio can be, straight to the heart of any matter. Scorpio can shock people with how deep they're willing to go. They can also appear abrasive and is quite harsh as well, as if they don't consider other people's feelings, but underneath they do care. Oh, they do. They are considering your feelings. They just aren't willing to tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you what they feel you need to hear. Big difference. Though on the other hand, when younger or immature, they can go from 0 to 100 really, really quickly. Blind rage can take over if they feel like they're being attacked. So what they do is they jump to shield themselves, to protect themselves. They are highly sensitive and highly protective, also highly protective of their loved ones, very quick to jump to their defense. Now, Scorpions also have great survival skills. They can survive in some very tough environments and harsh climates. And get this, when food is scarce, Scorpions can slow down their metabolism so much so that they are able to live off just one insect per year. Yes, it's very interesting to think about because Scorpios can survive off less, especially whenever they're striving toward a certain goal. They're willing to make those cuts. They're willing to do what is necessary in order to get there. And what I further mean by this is when life throws challenging times at Scorpio, they can manage to pull themselves through it. Naturally, this does depend on the severity of the situation, because the thing about this energy is that it can go to extremes as well. So there can be times when Scorpios spiral, spiraling out of control, and then it's too late. They're already deep in whatever it is. Scorpio, of course, is the sign of death, and what I have observed is how Scorpios are surrounded by death throughout their lives. And this is, as you can imagine, a very hard reality to live, very difficult to deal with. Still, many Scorpios have a resilience, they have a determination. They might even turn to spiritual practices to help calm them. Indeed, this is a sign that can get into some pretty heavy, dangerous situations, potentially life-threatening situations. But it's also a sign that can leave others in awe by their ability to overcome. And this leads me onto the phoenix, this mythological bird that can regenerate, this immortal side of Scorpio, reminding us that even after death, we live on, right? We leave a legacy. We continue. We enter, perhaps as well, the afterlife. The phoenix is the symbol of rebirth and renewal. This is a bird of empowerment. It's also a deeply spiritual creature. It's about transformation. Now, we also experience this octave of Scorpio in this life as well. After a job loss, for example, after the death of a loved one, after a breakup. But here's what I want to share about heartbreak. In my experience, the heartbreak experienced after the death of a loved one is so much more stronger, so much more painful than the heartbreak experienced after a relationship breakup. There is a pain that never goes away. Of course, this can depend on the type of relationship we have, but this is just from my own experience. But whatever the case, the phoenix represents us rising from the ashes. I sort of think of us going through such a process. So after we die, our bodies transform, our spirit is lifted up and it takes flight. And those who are past, they are with us. They're in our hearts, they're in our minds, perhaps they are in another dimension and they can be felt. Of course, Scorpio is also tied to the occult, tied to the unknown, the mysteries of life, the mysteries of death and what happens after we die. This fixed water sign is so much about sustaining and preserving our emotions so they can be used to transform through intense situations and experiences throughout our lives, especially those that involve crisis and trauma. So for example, the death of a loved one, becoming terminally ill, or being made redundant from a well-paid job. Scorpio asks, how can I deepen my experience by finding the strength in surviving a crisis? How can I evolve through moments of scarcity and panic rather than destroying and attacking myself? How can I courageously transform through patterns of emotional turbulence that can either have me flying high or sinking into the pits of hell itself? Keep in mind, Scorpio energy is known for self-sabotage, but feel. My goodness, feel. These types of questions that make Scorpio a sign of empowerment, emotional resilience, intense willfulness, and mighty force. Think about the tarot cards, the Death card and the Tower card. These cards represent Scorpio very well, in my opinion, because firstly, the Death card is so much about endings and transformation. This is a card of transition. So thinking about transitions you have went through in your life, how things have changed and evolved, major life transitions are especially powerful. This is a card of closing a chapter and opening a new one, but it can also point toward the transitional period between the two. And also, this can be difficult. This is also a card of release, letting go, and shedding old habits and attitudes that no longer serve us. And the thing is that we can't avoid such matters. We can't control the inevitable. We must accept it. We must accept the things that we cannot control. We can also become empowered by such moments, perhaps. Though when we look to the Tower card, this is a card of disruption, of upheaval. Again, we can't control such situations from occurring. This is a card of emergency and crisis, change that comes out of nowhere, right? We don't see it coming. This is a card of shock and surprise. But there is also a letting go quality to this card as well. It's a card of everything falling apart, falling away, but we can release as well so much pent-up emotion too. But here's the significance of this card. It's considering what follows from such breakthroughs. To me, it's a card of surrender. Both the Death and Tower cards are about surrender. As we crash, as we spiral, as we tumble down, we are massively humbled. Our values are put into perspective. Perhaps our values change. We see what does and does not matter, and the truth is revealed. Very Scorpio. Insight is gained, and we see through any false narratives, any false beliefs. We see through illusions. This is a card of seeing our life in a flash. And I also think this is a card that forces us to see ourselves. This intense intuition hits us in the face and wakes us up to what truly matters. But we cannot turn away. Much like in the mythology video, we talked about how there was a version of the Hercules versus the Hydra myth where the Hydra was killed because of the light. This is about us facing the light. This is about truth, honesty. Even if the truth hurts, says Scorpio. Tell me the truth, no matter what it is. But you see, the thing about this is Scorpio energy can fight hard as well to not accept such transformations from happening. There can be massive resistance to pain, to anything uncomfortable. There can be these huge fears of vulnerability. Scorpio reminds us of our defenses, how we can protect our ego, how we can protect our personality, how we refuse to be vulnerable, how we shield ourselves from being hurt, from being betrayed in any way. It's just too painful. Now, don't get me wrong. A big part of the reason for such matters is because Scorpios have been betrayed and disappointed by the world. But what about the people who care? What about the people who are genuine and who are trusting? If you're someone who is experiencing these feelings, perhaps it is a good idea to consider your childhood, okay? How were your vulnerabilities respected? Were they used against you? Were they thrown back in your face? Did you open up only to be shut out and denied? Could you express your emotions no matter what they were? Or were certain emotions labeled as bad or negative? Did you feel like you had privacy as well? Were you forced to open up whenever you weren't actually ready? And this, I feel, is an important factor. Having the space to let others in, taking our time as well to trust. Trust is built. It can't be forced. And so this, I believe, is how Scorpio shows up in our charts. The Scorpio house shows the area of life where we build trust and honesty and intimacy. We look beneath the surface and we regenerate. We act as detectives as we dive deeper into our emotions and our psyche. It's a life area of profound emotional and physical change. This is a house of commitment and devotion. This is an area of life that points toward our passions, our deep desires, our secrets, our privacy. It is within our Scorpio house that we learn so much about our drive, our power, our resilience. We reach the stage along our self-discovery journey that focuses on emotional building, establishing trust, and being vulnerable. And much like scorpions shed their skin, Scorpio in your chart represents the part of you that transforms. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video talking all about the symbol of Scorpio. Please let me know if you found this video to be helpful. Did you learn something new? I would really appreciate your feedback, and like you, I am also learning, always learning. And you can find all of the sources that I used in this video in the description box down below. I also want to say once again, thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon. Thank you for all of your support. And as always, let me know your thoughts and your opinions on today's video in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back. I will be back with another video very, very soon.